Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, life keeps pulling you in the opposite direction? You work harder, you plan better, you try to stay positive. And yet, it seems the more you push, the more resistance you face. Bills pile up, relationships break down, your health feels shaky, and your mind never stops racing. Here's the shocking truth. It's not because you're unlucky, or because the world is against you. It's because you've been swimming upstream, against the current of your own true self. And what if I told you that right now, without quitting your job, without winning the lottery, without waiting for some miracle, you could actually turn that around? That you could literally tap into a different stream of energy that reshapes the way opportunities, money, health, and relationships flow to you? Sounds almost unbelievable, right? But that's exactly what this talk is about. In 2024, Abraham Hicks delivered what many called the most epic speech ever. A message so powerful that people walked out of that room feeling lighter, energized, even reborn, like they finally understood why life sometimes feels like a battle and, more importantly, how to stop fighting and start flowing. But here's the catch. If you only hear the words, you'll miss the depth. That's why in this video, I'm not just summarizing Abraham Hicks' message. I'm breaking it down for you. I'll give you the science, the psychology, the real-life stories, and the practical ways Americans like you can apply these ideas in a modern, chaotic world. Because let's be honest, most of us were raised to believe that success equals hustle, grind, and stress. We were told that if you're not constantly fighting for it, you're falling behind. And we were taught to measure ourselves against what everyone else thinks of us. But has that ever truly worked? Has the endless grind made you truly free, or just more exhausted? Has worrying ever created more money in your bank account? Has doubting yourself ever healed your body faster? If you're nodding right now, it means deep down, you already know. Something has to change. And that's why I want you to stay with me. Because what you're about to hear is not some fluffy, feel-good message. It's not about ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. It's about learning to recognize when you're fighting the wrong battle. It's about seeing that your emotions are not your enemy. They're your GPS. Think of it like this. When you're driving in Los Angeles or New York, and your GPS says, make a left, you don't start arguing with it, right? You don't scream, no, I think I'll keep going straight even though that leads to traffic. Yet, in life that's exactly what most of us do. We argue with our inner GPS. We ignore it. We distrust it. And then we wonder why we're stuck. In this video, we're going to change that. I'm going to show you how to stop rowing against the current, and instead, let the river of life carry you. I'll share why Americans, living in one of the busiest, most high-pressure societies in the world, struggle with this idea, and how you can shift today. So if you've ever asked yourself questions like, why do good things happen when I finally stop caring? Why do I feel drained even when I'm doing all the right things? Why does life feel harder when I'm trying to be positive? Then this is your wake-up call. Stay until the very end of this video, because we're not just talking philosophy. We're going to ground this with real psychology, medical insight, and practical steps you can apply immediately. And I promise, if you open yourself up, you'll never look at life the same way again. Backhand index pointing right, let's dive in. When Abraham Hicks talks about alignment with your true self, many people misunderstand it as something mystical or unrealistic. But let's break this down in a way that actually fits into daily life in America today. Think about the average American morning. The alarm clock blares at 6:30 a.m., you hit snooze twice, you drag yourself into the shower, rush to make coffee, maybe grab a bagel on the way out, and then sit in traffic for an hour. By the time you're at work, you're already in fight or flight mode. Your body is tense, your heart rate is up, your mind is already racing with deadlines. Now here's the kicker. Abraham Hicks would say, you are not in alignment in that moment. You're paddling upstream. And as a physician who has studied stress physiology for decades, I can tell you that they're right in a very literal sense. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes first thing in the morning when you approach life like this. Chronic high cortisol is linked to diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety, weight gain, and even early aging. So let's pause and consider, what would it look like if you didn't fight upstream first thing in the morning? Let me tell you a story. In Japan, there's a practice called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. People literally walk in nature, no phone, no agenda, just absorbing the sounds, smells, and sights of the forest. The Japanese government promotes this because studies show it lowers stress hormones, boosts immune cells, and enhances mental clarity. Now, compare that to the American habit of waking up and checking emails at 6:45 a.m. Do you see the difference in vibration? One choice sets you downstream, flowing with life. The other sets you upstream, fighting against your own biology. This is exactly what Abraham Hicks is pointing to. The river is already flowing. You've already launched desires, whether it's better health, more money, a loving partner, or freedom. The universe, or in medical terms, your subconscious nervous system, is guiding you there. The question is, are you allowing it, or resisting it? The story you keep telling. Abraham often repeats, you have to tell a new story. And at first, that sounds like positive thinking 101. But it's deeper than that. Let's take money as an example. In America, debt is almost a cultural inheritance. Credit card debt, student loans, mortgages. It's normal to hear people say, I'm always broke, or money doesn't grow on trees. That's a story. And neuroscience proves that the stories we repeat literally wire the brain. Every time you say, I never have enough, your brain strengthens that neural pathway. Over time, your subconscious accepts it as fact and scans the environment to confirm it. Here's a striking contrast. In Switzerland, banks actually encourage young people to save before they spend. It's cultural. Parents teach children how to build wealth rather than how to survive debt. The story is different, and therefore the collective vibration of that society around money is different. That's why Switzerland consistently ranks as one of the wealthiest, most financially stable nations in the world. So here's the real question. What story are you telling yourself? And how long have you been telling it? If you constantly say, I'm tired, I'm sick, I'm broke, my relationships are a mess, then you're reinforcing the exact vibration that creates more of that. Abraham Hicks would call this beating the drum of lack. From a medical standpoint, this repetitive negative focus keeps your brain stuck in a loop of stress chemistry. Cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory cytokines that actually make you sicker. Emotions as GPS. One of the most practical Abraham Hicks teachings is that your emotions are guidance. And honestly, this is revolutionary when you compare it to how Americans are raised. We're often taught to ignore or suppress feelings. Man up, don't cry, push through, tough it out. Yet, depression and anxiety are at record highs. Why? Because ignoring emotions is like ignoring the check engine light in your car. Think about it. If you're driving a Tesla in California and the dashboard lights up saying, battery low, do you yell at the car for being weak? Of course not. You plug it in. Emotions are the same. If you feel anxiety, anger, or sadness, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're out of alignment. It means you're thinking thoughts upstream from your inner self. In India, yogic philosophy has said this for thousands of years. Emotions are vibrations, and the body is the instrument. Modern neuroscience now confirms this. The vagus nerve, which connects the brain to almost every organ, literally carries emotional signals through the body. When you feel joy, gratitude, or love, the vagus nerve increases parasympathetic tone, calming your heart, lowering blood pressure, boosting digestion. When you feel anger or fear, it shuts all that down. So yes, your feelings are not random. They're your GPS, telling you whether you're moving toward health and abundance or away from it. Why struggle feels normal in America. Now, let's zoom out and look at culture. In the US, we glorify struggle. No pain, no gain. Rise and grind. Hustle harder. It's practically tattooed into our society. And sure, discipline and hard work have their place. But when hard work turns into resistance, you burn out. Let me share a quick story. In South Korea, students study sometimes 14 to 16 hours a day preparing for the university entrance exam, known as Sunyoung. Families spend years and thousands of dollars on tutoring. On the day of the exam, planes are even grounded to avoid distracting students. Yet, South Korea also has one of the highest rates of teenage anxiety and depression. Why? Because constant upstream effort against the natural flow of individuality destroys well-being. In contrast, look at Denmark. Their concept of hygge emphasizes comfort, warmth, and enjoying simple moments with family and friends. Denmark is consistently ranked one of the happiest nations. Why? Because they've normalized downstream living, valuing joy as much as productivity. Abraham Hicks' message couldn't be clearer. Stop glorifying struggle. Life was not designed to be a constant uphill battle. Your health, your joy, And even your success depend on learning how to flow. Real-life application. Relationships. This principle also transforms relationships. How many Americans stay in toxic partnerships because they think, well, nobody's perfect, I should just put up with it. They ignore the knot in their stomach, the constant arguments, the lack of respect. They fight upstream every single day. Abraham Hicks would say, that resistance is tearing you apart. From a medical perspective, they're right. Studies show unhappy marriages increase your risk of heart disease by 34%. Stress from bad relationships literally ages you faster at the cellular level. Now, imagine listening to your emotional GPS instead. Imagine honoring the feeling of relief, choosing the thought that feels lighter. I deserve respect. I deserve joy. Suddenly, you're turning downstream. And even if you don't leave the relationship immediately, your energy shifts. You start attracting better experiences, more respect, and healthier dynamics. Let me give you a contrasting example. In Italy, the culture emphasizes long meals, laughter, community. Family bonds are strong. Divorce rates are lower, not because Italians never argue, but because the cultural vibration values connection and expression. When emotions are expressed openly, alignment is easier. The current flows smoother. The buffer of time. One of Abraham Hicks' most misunderstood but powerful ideas is the buffer of time. In simple terms, just because you don't see results immediately doesn't mean they aren't coming. Think about farming in America's Midwest. A farmer plants corn in May. He doesn't dig up the soil every day in June yelling, "Where's my corn?" He knows there's a process. He trusts the soil, the sun, the rain. He lets time do its work. Yet, in life, we constantly sabotage ourselves by checking the soil too soon. We meditate 1 week and wonder why millions haven't shown up in our bank account. We eat healthy for 2 days and complain we haven't lost weight. That's resistance. That's digging up the seed. The buffer of time is your friend. It allows your subconscious, your biology, and yes, the universe to rearrange circumstances in your favor. Just because you can't see the roots growing doesn't mean the harvest isn't on the way. Health as a reflection of alignment. One of the most profound ways Abraham Hicks' teachings apply is in the field of health. Abraham often says that your body is a mirror of your vibration. That might sound abstract, but modern medicine actually supports this. In America, chronic illnesses, like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, are often linked not only to diet and lifestyle, but also to chronic stress and suppressed emotions. Stress literally changes your immune system, your hormone balance, and even the way your genes express themselves. Let's take a common example. Insomnia. Millions of Americans can't sleep, even though they're exhausted. They try melatonin, sleeping pills, meditation apps, but the cycle continues. Abraham Hicks would say, you can't sleep because you're upstream. You're trying to force your body to relax, while your vibration is still in resistance. And guess what? Neuroscience agrees. Insomnia is often caused not by lack of sleepiness, but by hyperarousal. The brain is stuck in stress mode, the sympathetic nervous system is overactive, and the body cannot enter rest mode. Now compare that to countries like Spain, where the concept of siesta, resting in the afternoon, is culturally normal. Spaniards don't see rest as laziness. They see it as balance. Their cultural vibration around rest is downstream. In America, resting during the day often carries guilt. You're lazy if you nap. That guilt itself is resistance, which fuels insomnia later at night. So here's the lesson. Your body isn't betraying you. It's guiding you. Symptoms are feedback. If you feel drained, anxious, or sick, it's your GPS saying, you're out of alignment. Turn downstream. Work, hustle culture and burnout. Let's shift to work. In America, workaholism is practically celebrated. The American dream is built on the idea that if you hustle hard enough, you'll succeed. And yes, hard work has lifted many out of poverty. But Abraham Hicks would say, there's a difference between inspired action and forced action. Inspired action feels exciting, like you're being carried by the current. Forced action feels heavy, like you're rowing upstream. Which one do you think leads to burnout? Let me tell you a story. In Silicon Valley, I treated a patient. Let's call him Mark. He was a 32-year-old software engineer, brilliant, making 6 figures, but constantly exhausted. He lived on Red Bull and coffee, working 80 hours a week. He came to me with heart palpitations, anxiety, and constant stomach pain. Medically, we called it burnout syndrome. Spiritually, Abraham Hicks would call it total resistance. Mark was rowing so hard upstream that his body finally screamed, "Enough!" Compare that to Sweden, where companies experiment with a 6-hour workday. Studies show employees become more productive, not less. Why? Because they work in alignment. They allow balance, rest, and flow. The cultural vibration honors well-being, not just output. Mark eventually learned this. Instead of forcing 12-hour coding marathons, he started taking breaks, meditating, and choosing projects that excited him rather than just paid him. His health improved, his creativity soared, and ironically, his salary doubled within 2 years. That's the power of going downstream. The science of alignment. Now let's bridge Abraham Hicks' ideas with hard science, because as Americans, we like evidence. Neuroplasticity. Your brain rewires itself based on repeated thoughts. If you constantly think, "I'm stuck, I'm broke, I'm sick," you strengthen those pathways. If you deliberately shift to thoughts of possibility, even slightly better thoughts, you begin carving new neural roads. Over time, your brain literally changes structure to support new beliefs. That's not magic, that's neuroscience. Abraham calls it, telling a new story. Epigenetics. Your genes are not destiny. They respond to environment, lifestyle, and mindset. Stress can activate disease genes. Peace and joy can activate healing genes. Studies on meditation and gratitude show measurable changes in gene expression. Lower inflammation, better immune function. Abraham would say, your vibration shapes your biology. Science says the same. Heart coherence. Research from the HeartMath Institute shows that emotions like gratitude and love create a measurable, harmonious rhythm in the heart, which improves brain function and hormonal balance. Emotions like anger and fear create chaotic rhythms, linked to disease. Abraham calls it alignment. Scientists call it coherence. Different language, same truth. So when Abraham says, care about how you feel, it's not fluff. It's physiology. Your health literally depends on it. Everyday examples of going upstream versus downstream. Let's make this practical. Imagine 2 Americans, Sarah and John. Sarah wakes up and thinks, ugh, I hate my job. The traffic is terrible. My boss is awful. Life is so unfair. She turns on the news, hears negativity, scrolls through Instagram comparing herself to others. By 9 a.m., she's already stressed, anxious, and resentful. That vibration attracts more of the same. She spills coffee on her shirt, gets stuck in traffic, her boss yells at her. Upstream all day. John wakes up and takes 5 minutes to breathe deeply. He plays a song he loves. He reminds himself, I'm grateful for my health. I'm open to opportunities today. He still faces traffic, but he listens to a podcast that inspires him. His boss still has demands, but John stays calm. He notices a coworker smiling and starts a friendly conversation. Downstream all day. Same environment, 2 completely different realities. That's alignment in action. Lessons from other nations. To see how alignment plays out globally, let's look at 3 different countries. India. For centuries, yoga and meditation have been seen not as luxuries, but as daily necessities. Abraham Hicks often speaks about tuning to your inner being. India's ancient practices literally built systems for that. That's why even in crowded, chaotic cities, millions still find moments of inner peace. Norway, they have a concept called friluftsliv, meaning open-air living. Norwegians spend time outdoors regardless of weather. This alignment with nature creates resilience and joy. No wonder Norway ranks among the happiest countries. United States. We have innovation, ambition, and opportunity, but often at the cost of alignment. Stress, burnout, and lifestyle diseases are rampant. The opportunity for Americans is to integrate wisdom, combining our drive with practices of flow, balance, and alignment. The turning point. From resistance to allowance. Here's the most empowering part. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight to shift. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about direction. If you're upstream, you don't need to leap into joy instantly. You just need one slightly better thought. If you're overwhelmed with bills, you don't have to chant, "I'm a millionaire." That feels false and creates more resistance. Instead, you can say, "I've handled tough times before, and I'll find a way again." That thought is downstream. That thought feels lighter. And from there, the current carries you further. It's like being stuck in New York traffic. If you miss one turn, you don't need to panic or restart the whole trip. You just recalculate. The GPS reroutes. Your emotions are that rerouting system. One better feeling thought at a time. Why challenges are not punishments but invitations. Abraham Hicks often repeats, "You didn't come to live a problem-free life. You came for the joy of expansion." This flips the way many Americans view struggle. In our culture, hardship is often seen as failure. Losing a job means you weren't good enough. Divorce means you messed up. Illness means you did something wrong. But from Abraham's perspective, contrast, meaning the gap between what you want and where you are, is not punishment. It's guidance. Think about it. If life were a perfect smooth ride, there'd be no growth. Contrast sharpens desire. When you get sick, you desire health more clearly. When you're broke, you want prosperity more passionately. When you're lonely, you crave love more deeply. The very pain you resist is what launches rockets of desire into your future. Americans love the comeback story. Think of Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in poverty, faced abuse, rejection, and countless obstacles. Yet she says those very challenges gave her the fuel to step into greatness. That's contrast at work. Without the pain, she wouldn't have had the clarity or drive to build an empire of inspiration. Healing stories that prove alignment works. Let's ground this with real human stories. Story 1. The veteran with PTSD. A U.S. Marine returned from Afghanistan with severe PTSD. Nightmares, hypervigilance, broken relationships. Traditional therapy helped some, but what changed his life was a shift in vibration. He began practicing gratitude, not for war, but for small things. His dog licking his hand, the smell of coffee, the quiet of early mornings. Over months, his brain rewired. His nightmares decreased, his relationships softened, and he found purpose working with other veterans. Abraham would say, he stopped rowing upstream against his trauma and began finding the downstream current of healing. Story 2. The woman with autoimmune disease. In Los Angeles, a woman with lupus came to a holistic doctor ready to give up. Her body was in constant pain. Instead of focusing solely on pills, she was encouraged to create moments of joy. She started painting again, something she hadn't done since college. Within a year, her flares reduced dramatically. Science shows stress fuels autoimmune disease. Joy reduces it. Abraham's version? She aligned with her inner being through creativity, and her body followed. Story 3. The small-town farmer. A farmer in Iowa faced bankruptcy after a series of bad harvests. Every morning he woke up in panic about losing his land. One day, he listened to a podcast on Abraham Hicks. He decided to stop obsessing over debt and start appreciating what still worked. The sunrise over his fields, the smell of soil, the community that cared. That shift didn't erase his debt overnight, but within 2 years, opportunities showed up. A partnership, new crops, and government support. He saved his farm. The contrast of financial fear made his desire for stability strong enough to pull new possibilities into reality. The science behind transformation. Americans love evidence, so let's connect this again with what science says. Post-traumatic growth. Psychologists now study how trauma can spark positive change. People who survive cancer often report greater appreciation for life, deeper relationships, and a stronger sense of purpose. That's contrast leading to expansion. The placebo effect. Even in clinical trials, people who believe they're receiving medicine often heal, even when they're given sugar pills. That's alignment in action. The body responding to the vibration of hope rather than the chemistry of a drug. Neuroimaging studies. MRI scans show that when people practice gratitude, parts of the brain associated with stress quiet down, while reward centers light up. Abraham's teaching, focus on appreciation, isn't just spiritual advice. It's neurological medicine. Lessons from everyday life. Contrast doesn't only show up in big dramatic ways like war, disease, or bankruptcy. It's in the daily grind. Traffic jams. You can curse at every red light, or you can use the time to listen to an audiobook. call a loved one, or simply breathe. The traffic isn't the enemy. Your vibration is the variable. Parenting struggles. When your teenager slams the door, that's contrast. Instead of seeing it as failure, you can see it as your child's journey to independence, pushing you to grow patience and unconditional love. Weight loss frustrations. When diets fail, you're tempted to blame yourself. Abraham would say the resistance is not in your body, but in your vibration. Shift from self-loathing to small wins. I walked 10 minutes today. I chose water instead of soda. Every shift downstream adds momentum. Wisdom across nations. Let's compare how cultures handle contrast. Japan has a concept called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they're highlighted as part of the object's beauty. That's contrast turned into expansion. Instead of denying pain, they honor it as part of the journey. South Africa has the philosophy of Ubuntu, meaning, I am because we are. When one suffers, the community gathers, not to pity but to uplift. Contrast becomes a collective teacher, not an individual curse. America often tells people, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. While resilience is valuable, this mindset can make people feel ashamed of their pain. The opportunity for Americans is to shift. Instead of resisting contrast, honor it as part of alignment. The emotional GPS. How to navigate pain. Abraham Hicks teaches that emotions are your inner GPS. Negative emotions don't mean you're broken. They mean you're pointed upstream. Positive emotions mean you're downstream. Simple, right? Yet revolutionary when applied. Imagine you're arguing with your spouse. Anger flares. That emotion isn't saying, your marriage is doomed. It's saying, you're focused on something that's upstream. If you soften to frustration, then relief, then hope, you turn the boat around. Or take grief. Losing a loved one is the deepest contrast. Abraham never says, don't feel sad. They say, honor the grief, but know your loved one's energy still exists. As you move from despair to moments of appreciation, you begin reconnecting with love instead of resisting loss. That's alignment even in sorrow. Community, family, and collective healing. Alignment isn't only personal. It's collective. Families, workplaces, even nations have a vibrational tone. A family dinner table where everyone complains about politics creates a low vibration. Shift the conversation to gratitude or laughter, and the whole group feels lighter. A workplace that praises employees only when they overwork creates resistance. A workplace that celebrates creativity and balance creates flow. A nation that glorifies endless hustle burns out. A nation that values both ambition and joy thrives. This is why your channel health for tomorrow matters. Because if individuals align, families align. If families align, communities align. And ultimately, nations align. The ripple effect begins with one person choosing to go downstream. From hopelessness to empowerment. One of the hardest moments in any healing journey is when people say, but I've tried everything and nothing works. Abraham Hicks would say, the very fact that you're still searching means your inner being hasn't given up. The current is still flowing, and you're still in the boat. Take Thomas Edison, the American inventor. He failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. Did he see those failures as punishment? No. He saw each one as contrast clarifying the path to success. That's alignment. Or think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Instead of letting bitterness destroy him, he used contrast to fuel forgiveness and unity. That's alignment at the highest level. If these individuals could use contrast for transformation, then so can each of us, in our health, our work, our relationships, our daily choices. Why rituals matter. We Americans love productivity hacks, apps, planners, podcasts. But when it comes to well-being, the most powerful hack isn't another gadget. It's ritual. Small, intentional practices that reset your vibration daily. Abraham Hicks often says, start your day in alignment, and everything else flows easier. Think of it like tuning your guitar before a concert. You wouldn't play a song on a string that's out of tune. So why start your day with a mind full of resistance? Morning alignment. A downstream start. Mornings are sacred. The moment you open your eyes, you have a clean slate. Before emails, headlines, or bills hijack your mood, you can set your vibration. Here are some simple Abraham-inspired practices. The rampage of appreciation. Before your feet touch the floor, list 5 things you appreciate. They can be tiny. The softness of your pillow, the quiet of the house, your heartbeat. This shifts your vibration toward gratitude immediately. Segment intending. Abraham teaches that you can pre-pave the energy of your day. Before stepping into each segment, like commuting, work, or family time, you set an intention. In this meeting, I want clarity and collaboration. It's like giving your GPS directions before you hit the road. Meditation. American style. You don't need to sit like a monk in the Himalayas. Abraham recommends 15 minutes of quiet breathing. Many Americans adapt this by sitting with coffee on the porch, watching the sunrise, or even just focusing on breath before scrolling their phone. The point isn't perfection. It's alignment. The role of movement in vibration. Health is not just mental. It's physical energy too. Movement is vibration in action. Walking. Americans often see walking as exercise for weight loss, but it's also a vibration reset. Abraham suggests a walk of appreciation. Looking at trees, skies, neighborhoods with gratitude. The body and mind synchronize. Dance. Cultures worldwide use dance to release resistance. In Brazil, samba is celebration. In Africa, dance is healing. Even in your living room, putting on a favorite 80s track and moving for 5 minutes can shift your vibration more than hours of worrying. Yoga or Tai Chi. These ancient practices aren't just about flexibility. They align breath, body, and spirit. That alignment translates to clarity in every other area of life. Abundance. More than just money. Americans often tie abundance directly to bank accounts. Yet Abraham insists abundance is broader. It's freedom, joy, health, relationships, time. You can have millions in the bank but still feel poor if you're stressed, sick, or lonely. Think of Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world. He still eats at McDonald's, plays ukulele, and says the real joy of wealth is freedom. Doing what he loves every day. That's abundance beyond money. Contrast that with lottery winners who end up broke and miserable. Why? Because vibration didn't change. Money magnified their resistance instead of their alignment. Money and vibration. The Abraham view. Abraham says, money is just energy, a representation of abundance. If you feel scarcity, you block the flow. If you appreciate even small amounts, you open the door for more. Practical examples. A single mom in Detroit kept saying, I'll never get ahead. Bills piled up. One day, she shifted to celebrating every small win. A discount at the grocery store, an extra tip from a customer. Within a year, she got a better-paying job and financial stability. Her vibration changed first. Her money followed. A tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley was making millions but burning out. After hearing Abraham, he stopped pushing and started prioritizing joy. Ironically, his company grew faster when he worked less. Alignment, not hustle, created more abundance. The balance between hustle and flow. American culture worships hustle, rise and grind. Sleep when you're dead. But this mindset burns people out. Abraham's teaching is radical in this context. You don't need to grind, you need to align. Think of rowing a boat upstream, sweating, straining, exhausted. That's hustle without alignment. When you let go of the oars, the river carries you downstream. That's flow. Examples in real life. Silicon Valley startups. The most innovative companies didn't come from people forcing themselves to work 120 hours a week. They came from inspiration. Moments of clarity often outside the office. Artists and musicians. Hits rarely come from trying harder. They come when inspiration flows. Paul McCartney has said some of his best songs just arrived in his head. That's alignment. The scarcity trap. Many Americans grew up with phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for every dollar. Rich people are greedy. These beliefs plant scarcity deep in the subconscious. Abraham's perspective flips this. Abundance is natural. Trees do grow fruit freely. Air is abundant. Love is abundant. The challenge is not the world's scarcity. It's the belief in scarcity. A practical exercise. Every time you spend money, bless it. Instead of saying, ugh, rent is draining me, say, I'm grateful I have a home. I'm circulating abundance. That shift softens resistance. Abundance across cultures. Different nations reflect Abraham's teachings in unique ways. India, the concept of Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, celebrates abundance as divine. Wealth isn't shameful. It's sacred when aligned with gratitude. Italy, the phrase la dolce vita, the sweet life, isn't about luxury. It's about savoring everyday pleasures. Abundance is in wine shared with friends, laughter in the piazza, the simple joy of food. America. We often equate abundance with consumerism. Yet minimalism movements show a cultural shift. People discovering that abundance is freedom, not stuff. Building a personal abundance practice. Here are practical tools to attract both money and joy. Daily gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you appreciate about money already in your life. A paycheck, a meal, even a dime found on the street. This trains the brain to notice abundance instead of lack. Visualization. Instead of worrying about bills, picture the feeling of financial freedom. Imagine waking up debt-free, traveling where you want, giving generously. The feeling is the magnet. Celebrate others' wealth. When someone else succeeds, instead of envy, practice saying, "Good for them. Abundance is flowing, and mine is on the way." This removes resistance and opens your channel. Community abundance. More than just personal. Abraham Hicks often reminds us that alignment is contagious. Communities can shift together. In Denmark, considered one of the happiest nations, people prioritize work-life balance, social trust, and shared well-being. That's collective alignment with abundance. In Silicon Valley, networks of entrepreneurs share ideas freely, creating innovation that benefits many. That's abundance mindset on a community scale. Even in American towns, when neighbors support local businesses, volunteer at schools, or share resources, the whole community vibrates higher. The big shift. From scarcity to trust. At the heart of abundance is trust. Trust that life is on your side. Trust that your inner being knows the way. Trust that contrast isn't punishment. It's guidance. This doesn't mean you sit on the couch waiting for miracles. It means you act from inspiration instead of desperation. You send out resumes when you feel hopeful, not panicked. You invest when you feel clear, not fearful. You create because you love it, not because you're chasing validation. When you shift like this, life feels lighter. Opportunities appear. Health improves. Relationships deepen. Money flows. Not because you forced it but because you aligned with it. The everyday challenge. When theory meets reality. It's one thing to nod along while listening to Abraham Hicks in your car. It's another thing entirely to stay in alignment when your kids are screaming, your boss is texting on a Saturday, and your healthcare bill arrives with more zeros than your bank account. That's where the real work begins. Alignment isn't just for yoga retreats or meditation apps. It's for traffic jams, arguments with your partner, grocery store checkout lines, and stressful doctor's appointments. The truth is, America runs fast. Our culture rewards busyness. People wear stress like a badge of honor. But stress is not success. Stress is resistance. And resistance blocks the flow of well-being. So how do we weave Abraham Hicks' teachings into real American life? Family life. The first classroom of alignment. Family is where our old beliefs about scarcity, worthiness, and health are born. Many Americans grew up with parents saying, "We can't afford that. Life's not fair. Don't get your hopes up." These statements may sound practical, but they teach children to lower expectations. They teach kids to distrust abundance. But family can also be the greatest training ground for alignment. Example. The dinner table reset. Imagine you come home after a long day. Kids are restless. Partner is stressed. Dinner feels like chaos. Instead of snapping, you pause and say, "Let's play the gratitude game. Everyone share one thing you love today." In 5 minutes, the vibration of the room shifts. Instead of focusing on what's missing, everyone tunes into what's working. This isn't just nice, it literally lowers cortisol, strengthens bonds, and models alignment for the next generation. Work life. Turning pressure into flow. The American workplace is a high-pressure environment. Deadlines. Meetings. Office politics. It's easy to feel trapped. But what if you reframed work as an opportunity to practice vibration management? Abraham teaches that you can't control every coworker or boss, but you can control your vibration. Case study: Silicon Valley engineer. A young engineer was overwhelmed at his tech job. Instead of quitting, he tried segment intending. In this meeting, I want clarity and cooperation. He repeated this daily. Within months, he noticed fewer conflicts, more creative breakthroughs, and eventually a promotion. His job didn't change overnight. His vibration did. Tip for workplaces: try a 5-minute, quiet reset before meetings. Companies like Google already practice mindfulness breaks. Imagine if more American offices began their day with appreciation instead of stress. Productivity would skyrocket, but more importantly, people would feel better. Healthcare. Healing beyond pills and procedures. America spends more on healthcare than any nation on earth. Yet we rank low in overall well-being. Why? Because our system often focuses on treating symptoms, not energy. Abraham Hicks emphasizes that illness is not punishment. It's resistance in physical form, a sign you've been out of alignment. Healing begins with emotional relief. Example: chronic illness. A woman with fibromyalgia heard Abraham say, "If you can find one moment of relief, you're on your way to healing." Instead of obsessing over pain, she practiced appreciating moments when she felt comfortable. Even small ones, like enjoying tea in the morning. Over time, her symptoms eased. Not overnight, but gradually as her vibration shifted. This doesn't mean we abandon medicine. It means we integrate it with energy alignment. Imagine a healthcare system that prescribed meditation and gratitude alongside medication. Imagine doctors who said, "Yes, take this pill, but also notice what feels good today." That's a revolution America needs. Politics and national vibration. Here's a bold idea. Nations have vibrations too. Just like individuals, countries broadcast beliefs. America's dominant vibration often revolves around freedom, but also fear. Fear of losing jobs, healthcare, rights, or safety. Abraham reminds us, focus creates reality. What if America shifted from fear-based politics to hope-based politics? Example: JFK's moon speech. In 1962, John F. Kennedy declared, "We choose to go to the moon." He didn't focus on how impossible it was. He focused on possibility. That single speech lifted America's vibration. And within 7 years we walked on the moon. Alignment on a national scale. Imagine if today's leaders spoke less about fear of collapse and more about visions of abundance. What could America create? Stories of alignment around the world. Other nations provide living examples of alignment in daily life. Japan. The practice of forest bathing isn't just leisure, it's medicine. Walking in nature reduces stress and boosts immune function. That's alignment through nature. Italy. Even in economic downturns, Italians cling to la dolce vita, savoring food, laughter, and connection. They remind us abundance is about joy, not bank accounts. Bhutan. Instead of measuring GDP, Bhutan measures gross national happiness. Their policy decisions literally prioritize vibration over numbers. Americans can learn from these approaches without abandoning our drive. Balance hustle with alignment. Ambition with appreciation. Community alignment. The ripple effect. When individuals align, communities change. Detroit's urban gardens. In a city once famous for decline, residents turned empty lots into thriving gardens. Not just for food but for hope. The vibration of neighborhoods shifted. Crime fell, pride grew. Local support during crisis. After Hurricane Katrina, stories emerged of neighbors rescuing each other, sharing resources, and singing in shelters. Even in disaster, alignment found expression through unity. These aren't small things. They're proof that collective vibration transforms reality. Practical integration. The daily American life. So how do you, as an ordinary American, integrate this? Morning check-in. Before coffee, ask, "What do I want to feel today?" That single question sets your vibration. Micro appreciations. Stuck in traffic? Appreciate the song on the radio. Waiting at the doctor's office? Appreciate the chair under you. Small things add up. Family rituals. Try one alignment activity daily, like gratitude at dinner, or 5 minutes of quiet with your kids before bed. Work alignment. When stress rises, pause. Close your eyes. Breathe. Whisper, I want clarity. Then act. Money shift. Each time you spend money, bless it. Say, this is circulating abundance. Watch how it changes your relationship with finances. The long game. A new American culture. Abraham Hicks often says, you are the pioneers of a new way of living. Imagine an America where alignment is mainstream. Where children learn appreciation in school. Where companies measure success by joy as well as profit. Where healthcare integrates meditation. Where politics uplifts instead of divides. This isn't fantasy. Movements are already emerging. Mindfulness in classrooms, workplace wellness programs, local food systems, mental health advocacy. These are seeds of alignment. The more we water them with attention, the more they grow. Closing the gap. At its core, Abraham's message is simple. You can't get it wrong, and you never get it done. Life is not about perfection. It's about alignment in the moment. For Americans juggling families, jobs, bills, and dreams, this isn't about escaping reality. It's about reshaping reality, one vibration at a time. The health of tomorrow, the mission of this channel, won't come from new gadgets or bigger hospitals alone. It will come from a cultural shift toward alignment. From individuals who dare to focus on joy in the midst of chaos. From communities that remember abundance is natural. From a nation that rediscovers hope as its guiding vibration. Looking back, looking ahead. If you've followed this journey so far, you've seen how Abraham Hicks' teachings weave into every layer of American life. Family, work, healthcare, politics, and culture. But let's step back. What's the bigger picture? The United States was built on a radical idea. Freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of opportunity. Abraham Hicks takes that freedom one step further. Freedom of vibration. You are free to feel how you choose. You are free to direct your focus. And in doing so, you are free to create a new reality. That's more powerful than any law, policy, or paycheck. Because the truth is, America's health crisis, financial stress, and cultural divisions will never be solved solely by systems. They will be solved when individuals, people like you watching this, decide to live differently. When you decide to step into alignment. The health of tomorrow. Let's start with health. Americans spend billions on supplements, fitness apps, and medical treatments. But imagine a future where we see health not as something we chase, but something we allow. Instead of fearing illness, we notice moments of wellness. Instead of punishing ourselves with diets, we enjoy food with gratitude. Instead of seeing stress as inevitable, we treat relaxation as sacred. Science already confirms this. Gratitude reduces inflammation, meditation rewires the brain, joy strengthens the immune system. Abraham Hicks simply translates this into vibrational language. What you focus on expands. So the health of tomorrow isn't just hospitals with better machines. It's homes filled with better vibrations. Wealth reimagined. Now, let's talk money. In America, money is often the loudest vibration. It fuels ambition but also stress. Abraham Hicks reframes money as energy, as appreciation made visible. Think about this. The dollar bill literally says, "In God we trust." That's not an accident. At its core, money is faith in value. But what if we extended that faith to life itself? Imagine an America where we stop saying, money doesn't grow on trees, and start teaching children that abundance is as natural as oxygen. Imagine workplaces where salaries rise not from burnout, but from alignment. Imagine entrepreneurs creating businesses not just for profit, but from joy. That's not wishful thinking. That's how innovation has always worked. Apple, Tesla, Disney. All were born from vision before resources. Alignment first, abundance after. Relationships in alignment. Health and wealth matter. But what about love? What about connection? Abraham Hicks reminds us that relationships are mirrors. If you're frustrated with your partner, your boss, your family, it's often because you're misaligned within yourself. Picture this. You walk into your home after a rough day. You're irritable. Your family feels it instantly. Tension rises. Now flip it. What if you came home aligned, calm, full of appreciation? The same people respond differently. Not because they changed but because your vibration did. That's how marriages heal. That's how friendships deepen. That's how parents inspire children. Alignment doesn't just transform you. It transforms the energy you bring into every room. America's collective shift. Now let's zoom out to the national level. America feels divided right now. Red versus blue. Rich versus poor. Rural versus urban. Fear dominates headlines. But remember this. America has reinvented itself before. After the Civil War. After the Great Depression. After World War II. Each time, the nation faced darkness, then rose with a new vision. Abraham Hicks teaches, you can't focus on the problem and expect the solution. That's true for nations as much as individuals. If America keeps staring at division, we'll get more division. If America dares to focus on unity, possibility, and abundance, we'll create a new era. This isn't naive. It's pragmatic. Every social movement, from civil rights to women's suffrage, began with individuals daring to imagine alignment before it was reality. The question is, what do we dare to imagine now? A glimpse into health for tomorrow. Let's dream together. In schools, children begin their day with 3 minutes of appreciation. Teachers notice calmer classrooms, better focus, fewer conflicts. In workplaces, companies measure success not only by profit, but by employee well-being. Burnout drops. Creativity soars. In healthcare, doctors prescribe mindfulness alongside medicine. Patients heal faster because their vibration supports recovery. In politics, leaders speak less about fear and more about vision. Citizens feel inspired instead of divided. This is not science fiction. Seeds of it already exist. Mindfulness is entering schools. Fortune 500 companies are investing in wellness. Medical research is validating the power of gratitude and meditation. Leaders around the world are experimenting with happiness-based policies. The health of tomorrow is already sprouting. Our job is to water it, with attention, with focus, with alignment. Your role in this. Here's the part most people miss. Waiting for society to change is a trap. The real shift begins with you. When you choose appreciation over complaint, you raise the vibration of your household. When you choose calm over panic, you raise the vibration of your workplace. When you choose hope over fear, you raise the vibration of your community. That ripple effect is how nations transform. It doesn't start in Congress. It doesn't start on Wall Street. It starts in your living room, your morning routine, your thoughts. Abraham Hicks says, you are more powerful than you know. You are the creator of your reality. So ask yourself, what reality are you creating today? The call to courage. This path isn't always easy. Alignment requires courage. It means turning off the news when fear sells. It means saying no to gossip when everyone else joins in. It means believing in abundance when your bank account says otherwise. But history shows, courage creates progress. The pioneers who crossed the plains, the astronauts who launched into space, the civil rights leaders who marched despite danger, all believed in possibility before proof. You are no different. You have the same power within you. The courage to align, to trust, to live differently. The final reminder. As we close, remember Abraham's words, you can't get it wrong, and you never get it done. You can't get it wrong because every misstep teaches alignment. You never get it done because life is an eternal expansion. So breathe. Relax. Appreciate. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to lean toward what feels better in this moment. That's enough. That's alignment. And if enough of us do that, we won't just heal ourselves. We'll heal a nation. Closing vision. Picture this. It's the year 2035. America is healthier, calmer, more united. Children grow up believing abundance is natural. Adults balance ambition with joy. Healthcare focuses on prevention and energy as much as treatment. Workplaces value people as much as profit. That is not a fantasy. That is alignment made real. That is the health of tomorrow. And it starts with you right here, right now. So the next time you wake up, before checking your phone, whisper, today, I choose alignment. Then watch the ripple spread, from your heart, to your home, to your community, to the nation. Because when you align, you don't just change your life. You become part of changing America. You become part of the health of tomorrow.